At the presentation of awards, Gadi's name was on repeat. Best in mathematics, best overall student, outstanding academic performance, etc. Then a wealthy man in the audience stood up. I would like to sponsor this boy to university. Whichever university he chooses, full scholarship. The hall erupted in applause. Gadi stood frozen, unable to believe what he was hearing. Another parent stood up. I'll provide his monthly allowances and provisions throughout the university. This time, the applause was deafening. Gadi broke down and cried on that stage in front of hundreds of people. But these tears were different. These tears had joy mixed in them. These tears were washing away years of hurt. When the ceremony ended and other graduates went to restaurants and parties with their families, Gadi ran with his certificates clutched in his hand back to his roadside kiosk where he sold petty items, recharge cards, biscuits and soft drinks. The kiosk had been locked all day. His mother could have opened it and minded the business, but why would she when Gadi was still alive? Gadi opened the kiosk and sat inside, his graduation gown still on. He looked at his certificate and laughed sadly. He wanted to tell someone, anyone, but there was no one. His mother wouldn't care, and Sarah was far away. He applied to the University of Benin and was admitted to study business administration. He packed his bags quietly one morning, told his mother he was going to school, and she just grunted without looking away from her TV program. University was a strange new world. For the first time, Gadi was living away from his mother. Even though someone else was paying his school fees and receiving monthly allowance, Gadi still worked. He started small businesses on campus, selling clothes, provisions, anything. He was saving money, always saving. And every day, he sent money home to his mother from his allowance. But she never said thank you. She would just call and complain it wasn't enough. The other students wondered about this quiet, serious guy who was always working and always studying. Then disaster struck. In his second year, the wealthy businessman who had offered to pay his school fees died suddenly. The man's family was grieving and had no interest in continuing the scholarship. Around the same time, Gadi lost contact with Sarah. Her phone numbers weren't going through. It felt like the universe was testing him again. For the first time since he was a little boy, Gadi felt truly hopeless. He had no one. Then he decided to do something he had never done before. He called his mother and explained the situation. Maybe she would help. Maybe she would show even the smallest amount of care. Someone listened to his explanation and then she laughed. Gadi, are you just finding out? You are a child with ill luck. That is your portion in life. If you no agree again, come back, carry your tray. There was a pause and Gadi could hear her moving around. You know what, Abeg, I have to go and change my clothes, I'm going out. And she hung up. Gadi sat in a small campus room. That moment was the most painful of his entire life. But Gadi was a survivor. He had survived his mother's cruelty for 18 years. He would survive this too. He spent the holidays working 3 different jobs: bus conductor during the day, security guard at night, and selling clothes on weekends. He barely slept. His body was running on pure determination. He saved every kobo, putting it in a small wooden box under his bed, and still met his mother's needs. By the time school was resuming, he had saved enough for his fees and expenses. The morning he was supposed to return to school, Gadi reached under his bed for his box. His heart knew before his hand confirmed. The box was empty. Every single naira was gone. He sat on the floor, holding the empty box, his mind trying to make sense of it. But his heart already knew. There was only one person who could have done this. Mama! Mama! He screamed, his voice breaking the morning silence. He had never raised his voice at her, never. But something in him was breaking. Sama rushed out of her room shocked. She had never heard her son scream. What's wrong with you, eh? Why are you shouting like a mad person? Gadi held up the empty box, his hand shaking. Mama, why? Why would you do this? His voice was breaking with every word, tears streaming down his face. This was my school fees. Everything I worked for. How could you? Sama's face hardened immediately as she pulled out her best weapon, guilt. You had the guts to save money while your mother walks around in tattered clothes and worn slippers. Eh? You were secretly actually saving money while I'm here suffering. She raised her voice higher than his. You are a wicked child, Gadi. Wicked and useless. Then she began to cry. Gadi stood there devastated, his world collapsing again. He looked at his mother. Everything she had came from his sweat, and she had the nerve to call him wicked. Without another word, Gadi grabbed whatever belongings he could carry and walked out. He didn't have money for transport back to school. He didn't have money for food. He didn't even have money for anything, but he walked out of that house like he was walking out of prison. His body was weak, but something in his spirit was finally waking up. That academic year was the hardest of Gadi's life. He had to rebuild his savings from zero while attending classes. His classmates didn't know what he was going through. They just saw this quiet, intelligent guy who aced every exam. They didn't know he was fighting battles they couldn't imagine. When Gadi stood with his first-class degree certificate in business administration, nobody was more shocked than his lecturers and classmates. How did he do it? They whispered. They knew he worked multiple jobs. They knew he had struggled. But they couldn't understand how he had still graduated at the top of the class. After graduation, during his NYSC year, Gadi's clothing business began to grow. He was making decent profits now, enough to save and plan for the future. His dream was simple: save enough money to move out of his mother's house forever. But again, Sama fell sick. At first, Gadi bought over-the-counter drugs, but the sickness persisted. She was coughing badly and losing weight. Gadi had to take her to the hospital. The tests, the treatments, the medications. Everything was expensive. He wanted to ignore her and let her die, but his conscience wouldn't let him. Gadi watched as all his savings drained away, and throughout her hospital stay, Sama never changed. She would tell the doctors and nurses within Gadi's hearing, "This sickness is because of the suffering my son has put me through." The nurses would look at Gadi with pity and confusion. They could see he was the one paying all the bills, the one staying by her bedside, the one sacrificing everything, but they said nothing. After Sama was discharged, Gadi was financially destroyed. He had almost nothing left. He had spent everything on her treatment, and now he needed to rebuild his business from zero again. And unfortunately, jobs were scarce. He would wake up every morning, dress up, and go searching for manual labor work. Anything. He would come home exhausted, covered in dust and sweat, and give almost all his earnings to Sama. "Is this all you make?" She would sneer. "You're such a failure, Gadi. You're a disgrace. At my age, other children are making millions, and you are bringing me this nonsense." Her words were like poison, daily poison. Gadi fell into depression. There were days he didn't want to leave his room, days he stared at the ceiling wondering what was the point of living. He was 27 years old and felt like an old man who had lived 100 difficult years. The only thing keeping him alive was a stubborn spark inside him that refused to die. A small voice that whispered hope. Then one evening, his phone rang, an unknown number. He almost didn't pick, but something made him answer. The voice was familiar but distant, like something from a dream. "It's me, Auntie Sarah." Gadi's heart stopped. Sarah, the woman who had saved him as a child. They talked for hours as Gadi updated her on everything. "That woman will destroy you, Gadi. You need urgent help. You know what? Let me talk to my husband and call you back." Within an hour, Sarah sent him money, enough to breathe again. A few days later, Sarah's husband, Dr. Lucky, called Gadi. He wanted to understand Gadi's situation fully, to see how best to help him. They were in the middle of their conversation when Sama started yelling in the background. Gadi immediately apologized to Dr. Lucky and stepped outside to continue the conversation. There was a strange silence on the other end. Then Dr. Lucky spoke slowly. "Please, if you don't mind." Who was shouting? "I'm so sorry, sir. That's my mother. I'm very sorry." "Oh, your mother. Is her name Sama?" Yes, sir. Then another long pause. "Gadi, please give me some time. I'll call you back." It was Sarah who called back 2 days later, her voice shaking. "Gadi, my husband, Dr. Lucky, said he's the father your mother never told you about." The words didn't make sense at first. "Your mother, Sama, was married to my husband many years ago, before he met me. He left her when you were 3 years old and later left the country before he married me." Gadi thought he would feel something, shock, anger, joy, anything, but it was just emptiness. On the other end, Dr. Lucky was not okay. The guilt was heavy on him. "I can't undo the past," Dr. Lucky told Gadi when they spoke again. "I can't give you back your childhood. But I can change your future if you let me." Dr. Lucky was well connected in Nigeria. He could have helped Gadi locally, found him a job, set him up. But Sarah had a different idea. "Bring him here," she told her husband. "Bring him home. He deserves a family. He deserves to know what love feels like." But there was one condition. Don't tell Sama anything. Not yet. Dr. Lucky knew his ex-wife. He knew she would create drama, would try to manipulate the situation, would make everything about herself. So they planned carefully. Gadi would leave Nigeria quietly, without announcement. The process took a few months. One Friday morning, he packed a small bag. He left an envelope with money on Sama's bedside. More money than he should have left, but he wanted to leave clean, when he had nothing. At the airport, sitting in the departure lounge, Gadi called his mother. "Mama, I'm traveling." Sama laughed that same mocking laugh he had heard all his life. "Traveling? Lazy boy like you." "Traveling to where? To go and suffer in another city? I better go and find work and stop causing me pain." Then she hung up. She didn't ask where he was traveling to. She didn't ask when he would return. She just hung up. Gadi stared at his phone for a long moment. On the plane, as Nigeria disappeared below him, Gadi pressed his face against the window and cried. For the first time, he felt peace and his nightmare was finally over. Sarah and Dr. Lucky picked him at the airport in America amidst hugs and tears. Gadi's new life unfolded like a dream. Within a few years, Gadi became successful. He bought his own house, his own car. He went back to school and got a master's degree. He became the man he always wanted to be. As for Sama, her story is for another day, because it was a horrible one.